please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know if there's anything that you want to talk about. This is going to be a little bit of a different stream. Today, really what I'm going to be talking about is actually tomorrow. Tomorrow is Medium Day 2025. And I'm going to be talking about, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting the stream tomorrow at 8 p.m. And then, I'm going to be starting the stream tomorrow, Friday, September 19th at 8 a.m. And I'm going to be streaming until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be talking about writing and how we as Freemasons can write more effectively on social media, ensuring that our message is getting out to all the people it needs to get out to. The keynote address is actually going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern, which works out well because that's the same time I'm normally streaming. So that should work out very well. But yeah, I'll go through the schedule of the event later on to give you guys an idea of what the different courses, what the different sessions are going to be like. The entire thing is virtual, so I'm going to be watching it through Zoom and participating through Zoom, but then I'll be live streaming my reactions to the day. And anything that I think is relevant or beneficial or helpful to Freemasonry, I'm going to make sure I let people know why I think it's relevant or helpful to Freemasonry. Because I do think we as Freemasons, I've said it before, part of 2025 is, part of being a Freemason in 2025 is being aware of social media, being aware of the different types of social media, the different formats, and knowing how best to communicate therein. So I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, to do a 12-hour stream, I'm looking forward to it because, again, it's something different. It's something unique. And especially to be streaming about Medium Day, I think should be fun. I really enjoy my written content on Medium. Here's the link here. So yeah, so that'll start tomorrow at 8 a.m. It's going to be a blast. Hello, Dad. How's it going? I don't know if tomorrow you want to wake up early with me, but I'm going to start streaming at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, which will be 7 a.m. your time. We're going to be watching Medium Day. Medium is a site on which you can publish written work. I've written a lot about Freemasonry on that site. However, I want to make sure my writing is as effective as possible to reach as many people as possible. And tomorrow you have Medium Day 2025, where from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., they're going to have a whole bunch of different seminars and workshops and presentations about how to make your writing as effective as possible. It's going to be through Zoom, so I'm going to be watching the sessions, and then I'm going to be responding and highlighting anything I think is relevant to Freemasons or Freemasonry. And by all means, what you can do is join me on my live stream, or you can register for Medium Day yourself. I've left all the links to Medium Day on my different social media sites. So what you can do, like I said, is register for it yourself, watch me at the same time, and we can hang out and spend the day learning how best to communicate in written content, especially how best to communicate through written content that's published online. But Dad, how's it going for you? I hope you're doing well. Let me know if there is anything you want to talk about. I'm going to go through the schedule of Medium Day 2025 later on, about an hour in, and maybe some of the sessions I am most looking forward to, because there's a few that I'm really excited about. And if they do fail you, that's okay too. I know you'll have tried, so that's all that matters. I really enjoyed yesterday's stream quite a bit. Well, I guess technically today's stream. The stream I did at 1 a.m. Oops. Shoot. I got that one. Hold on just one sec. I just want to redo this. This is not what I wanted to say. I wanted to give a few more options. Well, that's good. You got to make sure that you are getting your house clean. Actually, I had to do my house cleaning on Saturday in preparation for my 24-hour live stream. I always like to clean my house before I do that. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Maybe. We're going to start that poll, and we're just going to wait to see who answers it and who joins. But yeah, this morning's stream at 1 a.m. was actually really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. We had somebody on. Poison Ivy was the name on the avatar. And it was really fun because they had a lot of great questions. I really enjoyed it. I always appreciate people when they come and ask a lot of questions, whether it's, whether they're a fan of Freemasonry or not. If they're asking questions in good faith, that is always something I appreciate. So I'm going to be probably sharing the link to yesterday's live stream, or I guess again, the 1 a.m. live stream at some point today on my social media channels, just because, like I said, I was very, very impressed by the type of questions being asked. I thought they were excellent. I thought they were a lot of fun. I really enjoyed exploring it. Everything from why I joined Freemasonry, what Freemasonry is all about, Islamic influences in Freemasonry. So I'm definitely going to be exploring that to a greater and greater degree. But for now, we're just going to wait and see who joins. The first hour, as always, is just me hanging out and waiting to see who wants to chat. I'm going to just close my window though, because it's still have some sound coming from outside. So. It felt like for so long we had managed to avoid, the heat had gone away, but the heat is coming back, so that's a pain. All right, let's just see who joins us and what they want to talk about. And once we're an hour in, we're going to start on today's topic, which is going to be tomorrow's schedule for um, tomorrow's schedule for my live stream, which will start at 8 a.m. Particularly what the medium day schedule is, the different sessions I'll be watching, what they mean, how I think they can be applicable to Freemasonry, why I think they can be applicable to Freemasonry. Um, what's going on, Mystical? How's it going? I hope that your day is going well. Good, good. Anything exciting planned for the weekend? I hope that you'll be joining me tomorrow for my stream that's going to start at 8 a.m. Well, there you go, Mystical. I hope that you have a good time. Uh, spend a couple bucks on my behalf. The but don't go to the strip club before you first join my stream or stream me in the club. That'd be even better. Get them all to when you're handing out your ones right on there. Please like and subscribe to the Square and Compass podcast. If you did that, I'd very much appreciate it. Need to get all those people involved. Yes, exactly. By all means, you do that. You do that. I mean, I think you might get yourself kicked out of the club. I don't know if security would be appreciative of you being on your phone at that point, but hey, you try your best. I mean, it's all about what's best for me in this situation, right? So just please keep that in mind. I try to be not the best, but I try to be at least pretty good. Um, but like I said, don't let your extracurricular activities this weekend interfere with coming to see me. Um, during my live streams. The first one of this weekend will be tomorrow at 8 a.m. The second one will be Saturday at 3 p.m. And the one after that will be Sunday, the 21st, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, and will go until Monday, the 22nd at 2 p.m. Yes, because tomorrow is Medium Day 2025. So, as you may know, when it comes to my content, I produce not just live streams or things on YouTube, which I love doing. I also produce written content through Medium, written content about Freemasonry. And tomorrow is Medium Day 2025. It starts 8 a.m. It goes to 8 p.m. It's basically a series of presentations and events, all through the Zoom platform. It's a way to make room for fresh starts, blank pages, new beginnings. It's a free live online conference where bringing the Medium community together to celebrate the power of writing. You learn how writers craft popular stories, how publications offer work, how the tools and case studies and new releases work. I think that Freemasonry needs to be producing content on all different forms and all different mediums, pun intended, whether it be written content through Medium, whether it be video content through YouTube, whether it be images and pictures through Instagram. And I want to learn how to do it as effectively as possible. And so Medium Day 2025 is a chance for me to learn how to produce the most effective Masonic content and effective Masonic writing I can on Medium. And I want to share that information, or at least share my views of that information by live streaming. I hope that you guys will join me. I also hope you guys will sign up for Medium Day. I already put all the information on my socials as how to sign up for it, but I will also include it here. Believe me, it's definitely worth it. But we're definitely not going to do that, Mystical. That is definitely not something we're going to do. It would be, I don't want to get in the news that badly. I'm trying to avoid negative news stories. Hello, Courtney. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. And just for the record, since you mentioned the word freak off, Sean Puff Daddy, or P Diddy, whatever his name is, P Diddy Combs, was not a Freemason. That's this weird conspiracy theory that keeps popping up on the internet. I don't know why, but he was not. Well, I do my best. But I do hope everybody is doing well. Courtney, I feel like it's been a couple of days since we've talked. How's it going? How is life treating you? And we have 2 votes so far. Both of them are for live streams, which does seem to be the most common way people react to my content. Obviously, especially this is kind of a biased post because obviously on this stream, especially, it's a live stream, so the people responding are already interacting with my content via live streams. So of course, that's probably going to be what their answer is. But still, I don't want people sleeping on my other content, right? Whether that content be Medium, social media, Instagram. I don't want people sleeping on my other content or forgetting about it. Happy birthday. You're at 25 years old, 26 years old. I hope that you had a great birthday. And I hope that everything is going well. We have a few brothers in Utah. Did you get a chance to visit any lodges there? Yes, and sign up for the Patreon. That's a very good point as well. During my 24-hour live stream, starting on Sunday at 2 p.m., every couple hours, I'll be giving away a free tier on the Patreon. So I'll talk about how we're going to sign up for that, how it's going to work. Other thing to keep in mind is for my 24-hour live stream, if there's ever any kind of technical difficulties, which does happen, don't be alarmed. I'll probably start a second stream at some point. So just stick around. If the video cuts out, if the audio cuts out, if both happens, do not be alarmed. I promise you'll find me once again. I will take that bet. I will take that bet. You just have to give $500 to the Patreon. Actually, $550 to the Patreon, because Patreon does take fees. Well, if during the stream itself everybody donates, like if everybody donates, let's assume we get 10 people, that's just $50 per person. We usually get a fair number throughout the entirety of the live streams. Like for my last 24-hour live stream, let's see if I can find it now. Just out of curiosity, let's see what the numbers are. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going back in time a little bit. I try to do these the 21st of every month is my goal. Yes, we had 1,143 plus 706. So basically, that's like 50 cents a person. Come on, we can do that. If we get everybody joining, donating $1, we're doubling what we had before. So, and keep in mind, Patreon, just because there are tiers, doesn't mean you cannot join at a specific, like you can join at $2 a month or something if you want. You don't have to join at the different tier levels. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see how it joins. I'm going to be going over the schedule for tomorrow at the 1 hour mark. Hello, Sanjeet. How's it going? It's good to see you again. I hope that your day is still going well. Thank you for being here. Let me know how it's going, if there's anything you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. Answer our poll questions. We have a lot of exciting things happening, so please, like I said, I hope that you'll join. And how is your day going thus far? In the meantime, I've been advertising a lot, sharing my 24-hour live streams coming up, so let's just give it a bit more time, see how it goes, and then get ready for learning about tomorrow's schedule. Thank you. I appreciate that. Most people get sick and tired of me talking, so I appreciate the chance of anybody enjoying hearing me talk. But I hope that you're doing well. And we're still rocking 100% live streams, which is awesome. I appreciate everybody being here in whatever format they choose to attend. Days are good. That is good. You are, and forgive me if I'm getting this incorrect, because I can't remember for sure, but I believe you are from India, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, I apologize. But there's a lot of really cool Masonic lodges and Masons in India. It's actually, to my knowledge, somewhat or fairly popular in India at the moment. But I don't have numbers or anything, so I'm not, don't know if I can back that up. Is there anything happening in India coming up? Like anything exciting? I don't know necessarily. Like holiday wise, or because the next big one for us, I guess, would be Halloween. I don't know if you guys have Halloween in India, if you celebrate it a lot, or just anything cool coming up. The government, well, I think everybody feels everywhere they are like the government sucks. So I don't know if that makes you guys in India particularly unique. I tend to be a little bit more forgiving of institutions, including governments. It's not an easy job to have, put it that way, being in government or being a civil servant. And especially because India has so many people, right? India population. So the population of India is 1.451 billion. Um, the ability or the extent to which any government can operate trying to serve over a billion people um, strikes me as very, very impressive. I love California. California is awesome. There's a lot of really great stuff in California, by the way, when it comes to Freemasonry. I mean, it's funny, Jimmy Kimmel obviously shows is taken off the air, um, which makes me sad, but the show itself is actually filmed in a Masonic temple, in the Hollywood Masonic Temple. I always thought that was really cool. By the way, I am 4 followers away from 600 followers on Instagram. Where part of California were you in? I've been to Los Angeles and I've been to San Francisco. And they are both absolutely incredible places. I would say I probably liked Los Angeles a little bit more just because of the Hollywood connection. I got to see a whole bunch of filming locations for my favorite movie, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 and 5. But San Francisco was beautiful as well, don't get me wrong. They were both incredibly beautiful. And I loved them both. San Francisco has the Grand Lodge of California, which is an absolutely beautiful and incredible place. By the way, the Glenview History Center's grand reopening is September 20th at 11 a.m. I've talked a million times about I love the town of Glenview. I love their history center, and it's reopening on the 20th. So I guess it'd be 2 days, Saturday. So check it out. Hello, Dream Seeker. Welcome back. Monterey, Yosemite. See, when I've been to California, it's always been for Masonic events. So in Los Angeles, it was a couple places. In San Francisco, it was almost exclusively oh my gosh, it was exclusively the Grand Lodge of San Francisco, the Grand Lodge of California, which again is an absolutely beautiful building. It's also a pain though because it's on the top of this hill that when you're in a wheelchair, I'm sure going up a steep hill is a challenge for everybody, but going up a steep hill in a wheelchair is a particular pain. Thankfully, I got some gentleman who was in San Francisco for his daughter's wedding to help me get up at the top of the hill so I could take part in the annual communication. Otherwise, I would still be at the bottom of that hill trying to get up it, I think. Yeah, I'm in a wheelchair. So, how? Born this way. I mean, the why, I guess, is getting a bit more existential, which I don't know. But the how is, yeah, I was born this way. So, People get born in a lot of different ways, and I was one of the lucky ones to be born with no legs. Well, you can. I mean, those things are not mutually exclusive, Sanjeet, right? You can be normal, happy, and in a wheelchair. Now, I'll say I am not normal, but that's not because I'm in a wheelchair, just because I'm crazy. As my dad and other people can confirm. Um, but my abnormality is not because I have no legs, it's just because I'm nuts. But all Masons are a little bit crazy. You have to be a little bit crazy to be a Mason, and to be on YouTube as well. So, okay, yeah, I think I saw that you followed my Instagram account, so that's much appreciated. I knew what you meant, Dream Seeker. I knew you meant touche, and not touch. There's no rush, but I appreciate that, Courtney. Yes, being positive is what counts. Seeing the world in a positive light, I think, is absolutely what counts. Um, I think you have to believe. I talked about this after watching The Long Walk. You have to believe on some level that there's good in the world, or there's beauty in the world, as well as wisdom and strength. And you have to believe on some level that that beauty and that strength is worth fighting for, um, is worth trying to build for. Otherwise, what's the point? So, um, I don't always succeed, but I do try. We're going to give it a bit more time. And like I said, about an hour in, what I'm going to do is go over the schedule for tomorrow, which I'm very excited for. It's going to start 8 a.m. and go until approximately 8 p.m. So it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a long day. The keynote address for Medium Day is actually going to take place at 1 p.m. So, which is interesting because that's normally the time that that's my normal live stream time. So it kind of works out well. I expect a lot of people to join at 1 p.m. and they'll hear me talking about Medium Day written content on social media, and how we as Freemasons can best leverage that written content for our purposes. But as always, going to wait for about an hour before I go into the specific topics and the schedule. For the time being, we're just going to hang out, wait, and see who joins. like I said, just waiting to see who else joins. Anything you guys want to chat about for now, please let me know. And like I said, in about 25 minutes, we're going to go over the schedule for tomorrow. I'll be watching it on Zoom, and I'll be commenting on my live stream about what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, how I think that the sessions and the information being provided applies to Freemasonry. And don't forget, you can join Medium Day 2025 as well and just watch it on your own. You don't need me to kind of watch it for you if you think there could be some value therein. Either as a Mason, if you want to get better at writing and get better at communication through writing and communication through online writing, or if you are if you're not a Mason, but if you just think that in general you think there's a value in written content, and maybe you're interested in publishing fiction online, maybe you're interested in publishing written works online, and you want to know how to best use Medium, join Medium Day 2025. It's a great opportunity to learn. In the meantime, though, thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. And I'm just waiting to see who joins for now and who wants to chat. I have. The problem is I'm not the best at using AI. And I'm not a huge fan personally of AI produced content. Like, obviously, you see it a lot on social media. It's harder and harder to get away from it. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say I'm not a huge fan of AI produced content. So I'm hesitant to start using it. But there's definitely, I think, a market for it. So it's something worth exploring to a greater amount. I mean, I have tried to use ChatGPT to potentially create some scripts. Well, yes, there is a lot of. It would be beneficial to have, because my thumbnails are not the greatest. I'm definitely working on that. Although I think some of my thumbnails recently have gotten better. The problem is because I'm doing almost 2 streams a day, I don't have time to produce thumbnails for a lot of my content. But yeah, AI produced thumbnails would be really good. So I should look into that for sure. Because otherwise you end up with the kind of either the kind of standard thumbnail, the default thumbnail, which is just my Square and Compass logo, or it's up to me to create. I'm definitely not a graphic designer by any means. Though I am getting better, I think, slowly but surely. I don't know if man is thinking for himself right now, to be honest. It seems like there's very little thinking happening very often. But, um, there's obviously some concerns about artificial intelligence. I tend to be more pro AI than anti AI. I tend to think, I tend to think to myself that AI as a general, I'm a pro technology guy. So I think I've been there. I've been to Denver, Colorado. I've been to the Masonic Building. Um, it is beautiful. Denver in general is a beautiful place. I'm a little bit different dream seeker. I'm perfectly fine with the idea of AI. I tend to be supportive of AI as almost any technology. It's just not something I'm conversant within, so or that knowledgeable of. I just like the general. I mean, as a general rule, I'll almost always be supportive of technology. I think the extent to which human beings will accelerate or grow throughout the universe and grow within our own planet to a more positive future, a lot of that is going to be dependent on A, the technology we have, and B, how we use the technology that we have. That is really cool. I think I saw that email. I haven't read it yet. The idea of having a meeting in a local, I mean, Austin, Manitoba, I'm guessing is a pretty small. Um, I'm curious how small of a town it is. Can't be any smaller than Louder, Manitoba, which was a town of 7 people. Let's see. It's close to the Manitoba Agriculture Museum. Um, it's 110 kilometers west of Winnipeg. It's part of the municipality of Norfolk. It has a population of 415 people living in 189 of its 214 private dwellings. So there's small town, and then there's 415 people, small town. But still not as small as Louder, Manitoba, with its 6 people. When I was there, we doubled the population of it, so that's pretty cool. Which still good for them. That's awesome. I mean, keeping those old Masonic buildings open is really, really important. I'm trying to find the gas station. I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like. I'm guessing it's mostly just a lot of farmers that make their homes there. Yeah, there's the Fine Foods, Kim's Family Mart, Homestyle Bakery and Cafe. I don't know. It'd be fun to go there, but it'd be also a pain to get there. It's 110 kilometers, so about an hour and 30 minutes, depending on traffic, I suppose. But there's a lot of really cool things coming out in Manitoba recently, right? Obviously, you've got the Hands Across the Border. I don't know why anybody from Manitoba would want to support, people from Saskatchewan. They're all just out there marrying their cousins or whatever it is. But still, nonetheless, um, that's in Brandon. You've got this event in Austin. Let me check it out, see if I can find the email quickly. I know I saw it before. I'll see if I can find it again. Here it is. Union Historical Lodge meeting. September 26th. Which, by the way, Dad, I always appreciate you sending me this stuff. It's very kind of you. The cafe. 115 Manitoba Avenue in Austin. See if I can find a picture of it. Yeah, Austin Cafe and Grill, just over the railroad tracks. Reminds me of Flippin' Eggs, which is a place I went to when I went to Goddard, which is a small town in northern Manitoba. Hey man, I will take as many people following as I can get. So absolutely, feel free to follow Instagram.com/square, and basically it's square_and_compass_promotion. So anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, please do. On any of my social medias. You know, I'm also on Blue Sky, X, Facebook. I've been growing my X quite a bit recently, so I think there's a lesson there for Freemasons as well. I think we as Freemasonry need to be on as many different platforms as we can. I'm also on Podbean, although I rarely, if ever, publish on there anymore. I think so. I just got some notifications from Instagram saying I received messages and pictures. I'm not going to look at them right now, obviously, because I am live streaming, but I will check them out later, and I appreciate you sending them to me, Courtney, very, very much. I've got my, here it is. I've got over 5,000 downloads on Podbean, which I really appreciate. You can find me on Spotify and that, but those are all old episodes. I really don't have any new episodes at the moment, so. We're giving a bit more time. By the way, it's interesting, we're still at, in terms of the votes, live streams 100%, which makes sense. This is a live stream, so of course the people voting on that poll are going to be ones who are, you know, engaging with the content through the live stream, through live streams. But still, I appreciate everybody being here. All right, 10 minutes, then we're going to start on the main topic, which again is going to be what the schedule is for tomorrow and how that schedule is going to work. So please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate everybody being here so far. It's been a great time. We're just hanging out and chatting. And by the way, the 1 a.m. stream I did was excellent. I really enjoyed it. So I want to thank everybody again for taking part in that. it was great answering questions about Freemasonry to so many interested people. Thank you. Not quite yet, but very soon. So I appreciate that. My birthday is September 22nd. To celebrate, we are going to be doing a 24-hour live stream starting September 21st at 2 p.m., going through to September 22nd at 2 p.m. And a big part of that stream is going to be me chatting about Freemasonry. I'm sorry, outside of me chatting about Freemasonry, me giving away and gifting Patreon tier 1 membership. So if you are a free Patreon member or not a member at all, now is your chance, and I'll tell you how to get them kind of as we go. And it will be for 1 month, which means you get the first month for free. The second month, you can either cancel it or you'll be charged the $3. We're going to give this. I wish I visited Aspen. Sadly, not. I visited Denver, Colorado, a couple times. Loved it. It's a beautiful city, and Colorado is a beautiful state. Denver is a great city. Incredibly broad in terms of like, or like not. I guess like it's just really spread out. Like it's a very big city, but it felt very sparsely populated. Like fields everywhere. So it's not really a city that builds up like in the same way that, let's say, New York or whatever builds up, or Vancouver. It had a lot of land, so it kind of builds out. Not a lot of skyscrapers, at least that I saw, but I loved it. I loved Colorado, Denver. It was really beautiful, really cool. Um, Really awesome city, really great Masons. The Masonic building is right downtown and is like a famous landmark, so it's really cool. That is true, and I do try to explain that well, and I hope that people understand that. At the end of the day, every Freemason has to come to their own conclusions about what Freemasonry is and what it means to them. This is not similar to example of religion where you have one kind of where you have a single acceptable interpretation of the holy book or of the religious doctrines uh, based on what the church says, or what the church leadership says, or what the imam says, or what the rabbi says, right? Every Freemason has to develop his own personal interpretation of what it means to be a Freemason. As you said, for me, it is community based more so than individual or ritual or historical. Although I do think the history of Freemasonry is important insofar as it connects us to the community, and we can use that history to demonstrate our community involvement and community connections. Good, Courtney. I'm very glad to hear that. Make sure you're keeping a Masonic journal, and make sure you're writing down those connections that you made, um, when you made them, where you made them. Believe me, you want to keep a journal for years in the future. You can go back and remember the connections that you made. You can, keep it recorded on social media, but having it written down on pen and paper is never a bad idea. Um, No, I appreciate that. I'm sure, I mean, I could use a lot of work on my thumbnails, so it is much, much appreciated. I will check out that email shortly. I got your email, but I don't see the thumbnails. Let me see if I can find something here. Hold on just one sec. For some reason, the thumbnails aren't showing up. Huh. Like, I got your email, and it says, let me know what you think. No disrespect, but it doesn't. I don't actually see any thumbnails. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe try to send them to me through my Instagram. Once again, it's square underscore and underscore compass underscore promotions. Instagram.com/@square underscore and underscore compass underscore promotions. Do that on Instagram. You should be able to find me there. Let's give another 3 minutes. Then we're going to start talking about tomorrow, and we're going to start talking about tomorrow's schedule. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for joining. Please hit the like and the subscribe button if you're new. We're going to go over the schedule for tomorrow in a couple minutes. We're going to give it another, let's say, a couple minutes. and then we're going to get started. And, I'm hoping you join me for the entirety of tomorrow, but it is 12 hours. That's crazy. I don't expect anybody to be on for a full 12 hours, but maybe, as I go through the schedule, you guys will pick out some particular sessions that you want to check out. Again, I'd encourage you first and foremost to sign up for Medium Day yourself and just watch it on your own and kind of put my live stream on in the background and we can kind of watch it together. Or, like I said, if you don't want to do that, then you can kind of hang out with me as I'm taking part in it. And I try to, at least for me, what I'll try to do is condense the key points that I think are applicable to Freemasonry. So give me, like I said, all right, so we're at the hour mark, so let's get started. So tomorrow, Medium Day 2025, I will be having my live stream probably go on around 7:55 or so in the morning because it starts at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be watching on Zoom and I'll be having my live stream set up and I'll just be chatting to people and we'll talk about it as we go. But obviously, everybody should sign up for Medium Day. The first session is called Broken Barges, Rediscovering Fragmented Stories. This goes from 8 to 8:30 Eastern Time. The question that Broken Barges, Rediscovering Fragmented Stories seeks to address: what does heritage mean to you? This is obviously, I think, a very valuable Masonic question, Masonic heritage. To some, heritage is simply a tale of lineage. To others, it is about the pride of legacy. To Broken Barges, it is about knowing about the interconnected stories that hold a land in time and place. In this sharing, Broken Barges, a nationally acclaimed community heritage ground up, sharing stories of 2 centuries of cellular and diverse communities. So how can we as Freemasons share the stories of our heritage? Hopefully this session at 8 a.m. will help us answer that question. Then from 8, also debugging burnout with a pen or keyboard. Burnout makes people buy crystals, quit jobs, or run away from the mounds or the forest, and run away to the mounds or the forest, or to quit Freemasonry. I just started writing whatever my brain dumped out at that instant, be they half rants or half accidental insights. Well, that was not just therapy, but more of a debugging method for my head. In this session, I'll share how you could use writing like a troubleshooting method for your mind, spotting the error message, tracing the logic, or even patching the parts of you that keep crashing. This is no Dear Diary nor 5 a.m. routine, just a practical, or shall I say sometimes even irreverent way of writing yourself back to working order. How can we as Freemasons potentially use writing as a way to push back against burnout, which unfortunately is a real issue for many people, including myself at different times. From draft to viral, what AI advances editors look for. As an editor at AI Advances, one of Medium's leading AI publications and a Boost nominator, I've seen firsthand what makes an article succeed and what makes it sink. In this talk, I'll share candid insights for writers who want to be published and reach wider audiences. I'll also take you behind the scenes of the editorial process, explaining how acceptance works, what Boost nominations mean, how curators decide, and what is truly signifies when your work is published in a top publication. My goal is to help writers understand how to build trust with readers, editors, and Medium itself. So then again, it's one of those questions of how can we as Freemasons use AI, came up above, to create stories and articles that will reach the most people and have the most impact. There is from writing to building public to founding an AI startup. How the do-it-yourself vision of punk, fanziness, and riot girl (GRL) can incite writers in 2025. I think I'm going to trend this one. There's multiple sessions that you can attend, right? That are happening at different times, and so maybe what I'll do is even make some some poll questions and asking people what they think, which one I should attend. To what extent should we as Freemasons embrace the do-it-yourself attitude of punk rock? It might not be a traditional value, but do-it-yourself can be a very motivating tool. How to get to the top of Google searches. That seems to me a pretty important thing for Freemasonry as a way, if we want our Masonic lodges to be found on Google and somebody types in, learn more about Freemasonry, then a big part of that, we need to be willing and we need to be utilizing search engine optimization. If we're writing about Freemasonry on Medium, we want to make sure that, all right, I'll check out the new email for sure, Dream Seeker. We want to make sure that we're writing about Freemasonry in such a way that when people search for Freemasonry, our Medium articles come up first. I think that's incredibly important. And that also just applies in general. If we are putting time and effort and work into promoting Freemasonry via social media, via online resources, what are we doing? How are we making sure that content is optimized for Google? That when somebody types in what is Freemasonry, that they're coming upon our content, as opposed to content that is, let's say, negative towards Freemasonry, which is obviously not something that we want. Indistractable, how to focus and finally start writing. We could actually talk about that from a Masonic perspective, being indistractable, how to focus and finally start on Freemasonry. Writing as a self-translation process. Every act of writing is an act of translation. We translate our abstract ideas and thinking into concrete words. As a bilingual writer and translator, I've experienced how moving between languages reshapes identity, perspectives, and voice. In this session, I'll explore writing as an act of self-translation, choosing what to reveal, what to adapt, and how to reframe ourselves through words. Together, we'll experiment with a short exercise to see how shifting tone, style, or even language transforms the story we tell, and ultimately the self we present to the world. I think that this would be a really valuable session for worshipful masters, because one of the things you have to do as a worshipful master in your duties is usually to write a message that is placed in the lodge summons or the lodge trestle board, a message to your membership. And understanding how to write that message so you're effectively translating your thoughts as the worshipful master of the lodge to the readers, to the membership, I think is a very valuable tool that a lot of masters don't necessarily understand how to do. As someone who's read a ton of messages from worshipful masters, some of them you have no idea when you're done reading it what they're actually trying to say. And so being able to translate your thoughts on Freemasonry to the written word is incredibly valuable. Behind the scenes with Medium's design team. That's from 9:30 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Join us for a behind the scenes look at Medium's recent feature updates with Medium's design team. Sophie Aguado, senior product designer, will showcase the team's design thinking on follow to subscribe improvements, digital prototypes, and Medium design. Again, if any Masons are thinking of producing Masonic content through Medium, or anybody who's just thinking of using Medium to produce their own content, fiction, nonfiction, whatever it might be, knowing how Medium is designed probably be very helpful in terms of ensuring you're finding your audience. How the biggest setbacks in life can fuel your writing. Again, from a Masonic perspective, what are some of the setbacks that exist within Freemasonry, and how can that fuel us to have better success in future? Stories behind the lines, finding extraordinary narratives in the mundane. A lot of people do, but it's a skill to it, Dad, right? It's a skill like anything else. I'm gonna get some more water. I'll be right back. It's one of those things where it's a skill that you can develop over time. I'll be back in one moment, though. Just gonna get some more water to drink. What I also may do is, as I'm kind of watching this stuff, I may also take the time to even put some of my ideas in written form on Medium. So, sorry, stories behind the lines, finding extra narratives in the mundane. What are some of the extraordinary narratives within Freemasonry that we sometimes overlook? A great example of this would actually be a brother, Gene Lotz, who's been on my podcast in the past. He's written a lot of works. They're all great about history. And one thing he really does is he finds extraordinary narratives in the lives of people who might be considered otherwise just regular folks. He finds the extraordinary in the ordinary lives of people. And I think we as Freemasons, when we are talking about kind of members that have been important parts of our lodges, members that have been important parts of our history, a big part of that is we need to be willing to take some time to celebrate their extraordinary lives, to tell stories about them. Not even necessarily the most important members, but just the typical member. What are some of the things about their lives that make them extraordinary? And can we share those things? Right where you're at, sharing your tech journey. Are you a software developer, etc., etc.? You'll learn to craft a medium story that engages your audience with real behind-the-scenes drama of what you're working on. Don't think that one will be too applicable to Freemasonry, but you never know. Finding your first person voice, I think that would be very important for Freemasons. Our worshipful master's messages, they're written in the first person, right? Like, a worshipful master may write in his summons, I want to welcome you to Lodge for this month. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about that. It's making sure that the voice of the worshipful master, the type of person he is, comes through. No one wants to read a generic, message, right? You want the message to be something that comes through in some way. I think that's incredibly important. That's true for running a lodge as well. I think to a certain extent, every Masonic lodge should, to a degree, reflect the character and reflect the personality of the worshipful master, of the man sitting in the East. And so how do you find that voice? How do you write with that voice? How do you make sure other people can find that voice as well? I think that's really critical and really valuable. I'm just checking on one thing quickly. I'm going to go through the rest of these. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do a poll question asking people if there's some ideas. I should probably do it on Patreon. If there is anything that you guys want me to watch tomorrow in particular and comment on. All right. From confused to confident, a scientist framework for health decisions. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning. As someone who I always talk about Freemasonry and health, that could be a beneficial one to attend. That is true. Secretary asked to edit. I've edited several messages in my time. Knowing that clinical trial results won't apply to everyone is one thing. Empowering lay people to decide what's right for them is quite another. In this talk, I will share an evidence-based decision aid to help you navigate your health choices. We'll use the common dilemma of which exercise is best as your guide. And you'll learn how to deploy AI in the novel sense of assistive intelligence. As a doctor of public health medicine and researcher in vascular aging, I'll show you a step-by-step process of matching your exercise intervention to your personal profile. That's a presentation at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I'll go to that one, but maybe if people are really interested in it, because I want to focus more on effective writing. Let music guide your writing. Without music, life would be a mistake. That's from 10 to 10:30 as well. Without music, life would be a mistake. As Nietzsche said, what that means to me is, are there ways we can use writing or music to guide our writing? This is a interesting looking session that was taking place tomorrow. Not just a writer, just writing from experience. It's Mish Del Rosio is the writer. I'm not a trained writer. I started as a teenager with sad random blog posts, but becoming a dean for FINMA Education Philippines, serving underserved students, taught me to write from what I live and experience every day. My work is about noticing and telling stories of resilience, struggle, and hope as they unfold in the classroom. This session is for people like me who don't know the technicalities of writing, those who write from feelings, freedom, lived experience, and raw moments. I'll share how these themes shape my work and how lived experience can deepen any story. We'll end with a short live exercise to help you uncover a story only you can tell and show you don't need credentials to just start writing. I think that could be a very valuable session for Freemasonry and Freemasons, because how many of us make the mistake of, like, if we're going to focus on and write about Freemasonry, then I think a big thing we need to be willing to do in those cases and in that scenario is write from our own experiences. What is my experience like with Freemasonry, right? How is that experience different than my dad's experience with Freemasonry? Is different than Courtney's experience with Freemasonry, right? I think sometimes what I've noticed is when we're writing, what we try to do from an audience perspective is focus too much on trying to be as generic as possible in order to reach as wide an audience as possible. I don't think that's the right approach. I think writing and any content will always be better if the focus is on not what we're doing as individuals. If the focus is not on generic ideas, but writing from our own experiences. What does Freemasonry mean to me? Why do I think it's important? What are some of the experiences I have that mean the most? And how can I put those thoughts and feelings into written form? It's no different than these pins, right? Like, these pins look nice, but what makes them special is the story I have with each of them. Right? Like this pin, obviously I think it's beautiful and an awesome pin, but what makes it special is the experience of where I got it, how I got it, the lodge I got it from, what was happening when I received it. It's the talking about it or the writing about it from experience that makes the difference. I agree, it is a beautiful pin. I got it from Clarence F. Daylight Lodge in Los Angeles. There's also a great session though, Tiny Experiments for Writers. If there are Freemasons who want to become better writers, um, you know, um, stuck staring at a blank page in this interactive session, neuroscientist and author Anne Laura LeCunff, Cunff, I'm going to say Kampf, shares how to overcome writer's block and self-doubt through an experimental mindset. Learn to design writing experiments that build confidence and spark creativity, transforming writing from a source of anxiety into an exciting journey of discovery through practical, science-backed strategies. Splodgy? Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, Splodger. And by the way, I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. Technically, in Ontario, I don't have to go to my lodge ever. Famously, Freemasonry is a voluntary organization. There are some Masons who pay their dues every year and never attend lodge. You never see them, which is a problem, I think, in Freemasonry that we need to deal with. But for me personally, I'm attending my building, my Masonic building, probably 4 to 5 times a week. There was a time where I went 14 days in a row because I'm a member of 3 different lodges in my district and then 2 different lodges outside of my district. So, um, yeah, it's challenging. Well, I mean, famously, the famous joke is, it's just one night a month. There are some Masons who are there, once a week. There's some Masons who are there 2 or 3 times a week. There's some Masons who attend lodge once a month. There's some Masons who attend lodge once a year. There's some Masons who never attend lodge, right? What I always argue and always say is, and what many people say is, you get out of Freemasonry what you put into it, which I believe to be the case. What that means is, from a Masonic perspective, the more you attend, the more you're going to get out of it, the more you're going to take part and enjoy it. There is no they, right? In Freemasonry, every Freemason kind of gets to decide for himself or herself what they want to do and how they want to proceed. But Splodger, I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe button. I think you're new to the stream. If you're not, welcome back. So this one might be a really good one to attend because I know many Masons who, and my dad said he was one, who struggle putting their thoughts into words, who struggle when it comes time to write their message for their summons, who struggle when it comes time to write, let's say, correspondence that needs to be written about Freemasonry. Maybe some experiments for writers, maybe learning some experiments that can help foster creativity would be beneficial and helpful for anybody who needs to write or communicate in Freemasonry via the written form. Worshipful masters, secretaries, certainly Grand Lodge officers. Splodger. So they do not. So when I speak of Freemasonry, normally I'm speaking of the fraternal side of the order of Freemasonry. So in my lodge, for example, it's a fraternity. It's men exclusive. That's true in general when people are talking about Freemasonry. However, there does exist both the Eastern Star, which is a Masonic order for men and women. There is also, equally important to note, the Order of Women Freemasons, which actually does meet in our Masonic buildings. They're an excellent organization. So when I say Freemasonry, I do like to remind people there are Masonic orders and Masonic bodies that are for women, and they are just as valuable and important to our Masonic career as for men. See, I've always disagreed with that. I think it's unfortunate that that is the case, Dad, but that is the case. Discover your voice. and your confidence as an essayist. Again, more, this is also from 10:30 to 11, more potential tools to help you become a better writer, to help you discover your voice as a writer. And as a consequence of that, maybe you'll be better able to communicate in written content. That could be writing messages to the membership. That could be sending information that the membership needs to receive, sending correspondence. That could be creating social media posts that talk about Freemasonry or essays that talk about Freemasonry. All of that stuff is very important. Interesting. I don't think I'll attend this session because it's not super applicable to Freemasonry, but how to write about food as good as Anthony Bourdain, as somebody who likes Anthony Bourdain and has wanted to explore the ways Freemasonry and fine dining connect. That's an interesting session to see. Let nature boost your creative output. Write a story in 100 minutes. Write like a teacher. Finding stories in the classroom. Eagle versus chicken, the leadership mindset shift. This is from 11 to 11:30. I think this could be a very valuable session to attend. It's by Carlos Wallace. In this powerful session, Carlos Wallace explores the mindset divide between those who lead with vision and those who settle for comfort. Drawing from his signature Eagle versus Chicken philosophy, Carlos unpacks the traits that define transformational leadership: courage, clarity, and calculated risk. Might be a valuable session for anybody who is a Freemason and wants to achieve or has already achieved a leadership position within Lodge. How to make sure we're leading with courage, clarity, and taking calculated risks. Ink and Dhamma, sharing Buddha's wisdom on paper. There are Buddhist Freemasons. That may be a fun one to attend. Learn a language and change your life. This is also from 11 to 11:30. I've talked a million times about the value of knowing multiple different languages within Freemasonry. Met a most worshipful along the way from Greece. That is awesome. You met a Grand Master, Courtney. That's very cool. So that might be worth exploring as well. Right? What are some of the lessons from Buddhism that can be written about and that may be relevant to Freemasonry? This is an interesting session. This also takes place. This takes place from 11:30 a.m. to 12. Our modern lives, and this kind of is interesting because in Freemasonry, obviously, there's a lot of sitting that takes place. Our modern lives require that we sit, and that we sit a lot, on average 8 to 10 hours each day. Unfortunately, we're not designed to sit. Our bodies have been optimized. Yes, Blodger, both my grandfathers and my dad is a Mason. Well, I guess my grandfathers were Masons. My father is a Mason. Our bodies have been optimized over 3 million years to be hunter-gatherers walking many miles each day. And then, in just the blink of an eye, in terms of evolution, we went from the active life of a hunter-gatherer to the seated lives of cubicle dwellers. The results have been, in a word, catastrophic. Poor posture, an epidemic of back pain, and lives shortened as much as 2 years, but there are solutions. Maybe we in Freemasonry can explore some of these solutions. And even though we have to sit for a meeting that could last 2-3 hours, what can we do to make sure we're not passively sitting, but maybe involving exercises, involving movements, stretching, ways to keep ourselves active, despite the fact we have to sit through a meeting, as a way to encourage healthy living. Your story is bigger than you think. This is also a session that goes from 11:30 to 12. I think there's a lot of value there. I think the Masonic story is bigger than we think. I think being a Freemason is a story that is bigger than we think. And I think our involvement with Freemasonry is a story that is bigger than we think and more important than we think. Humans carry the incredible ability to make novel connections between their archive of seemingly disparate experiences. But how can we acknowledge our experiences and tap into new inspiration when our experiences feel or actually are viewed as disconnected? How do we write our story, our big story, with confidence? In this session, I'll share how to reflect on life experiences and make new connections to create writing that resonates. Drawing from my own journey as a professional violinist, music teacher, and software engineering manager, I'll show how reflecting on seemingly unrelated elements of our lives can unlock original ideas, inspire authentic, powerful narratives. The audience will leave with prompts to tap into their big stories in both professional and creative contents. I'm almost assuredly going to attend this session. I've been arguing for years that Freemasonry is bigger than we think, that Freemasonry connects to so many different elements of our lives and our community lives and our communities than we think, and that Freemasonry is interconnected with so much of our day-to-day lives. I've always struggled to express how and why that is. And so having original ideas that inspire authentic, powerful narratives, tapping into big stories, and reflecting on the fact that there are not, your Masonic Lodge, your work, your home life, your community, the community are not unrelated elements of your lives, but are related elements of your lives and tell a bigger story that Freemasonry is a major part of, or at least should be a major part of. That is from 11:30 a.m. to 12 Eastern Standard Time, so I almost certainly will be there, and I can't wait. Beginner's Mind, letting your story be your guide. Can we let Freemasonry be our story and our guide? Writing stories, this is from the Harlan Brothers, are going to present it. Welcome, Smokey, good to see you. Writing stories about science and mathematics presents unique challenges. How do you explain a complex subject with enough detail to be interesting and even revelatory, yet avoid overwhelming your reader with terminology and symbols that might turn them away? Here, I'll share my approach honed over years of teaching to audiences ranging from middle schoolers to college professors at Yale. It appears to work. So, I think writing about Freemasonry provides also unique challenges. How do you explain a subject as complex as Freemasonry with enough detail to be interesting, yet avoid overwhelming the reader with terminology and symbols that might turn them away? If I'm writing about Freemasonry and I'm talking about Hiram Abiff and symbols and history going back millions, going back, let's say, millions of years, if you want to include stonemasons, or hundreds of years if you want to include UGLE, and you've got AF and AM versus F and AM, you've got speculative versus operative, you've got York Rite, Scottish Rite, Mark Master degrees, Master Mason, Worshipful Master, right? That can be very overwhelming to the reader. It's a lot of terminology, it's a lot of symbols. How do I write in a way where I'm letting the story of Freemasonry be my guide and not getting bogged down in details that will turn readers off? And this is more for general public, but I think I may check that one out as well. That looks really, really cool. Coping through community, that's also at noon. That's a presentation that's taking place. Freemasonry is a community. Excuse me. So how can we make sure that we are using our Masonic community to cope with the challenges of day-to-day life? So 2 your time would be 3 my time on the 29th. Sounds good to me. That's what we'll go for. Exploitation is a daily, this is from the Coping the Community presentation. Exploitation is a daily reality under capitalism, a system that prioritizes profit over people and leaves lasting harm on bodies, minds, and communities. Coping with Capitalism is a publication offering clear and accessible paths to self and collective care. In this session, I'll share 2 initiatives rooted in that mission: Paper Zero, Advocates plus Allies, bringing together voices from across the globe to center on mutual care and advocacy, and Coping with Art, a gallery in the works honoring creative expression. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything that this person's saying about capitalism per se, but I do agree in 2025, there's a lot of challenges to people's bodies, minds, and communities. They're struggling in a lot of different ways. How can we use community to cope? How can we use Freemasonry to cope with those things? How to write movie-inspired satire. I don't think I'll watch that one. There's also finding stories in the everyday, the data behind the ordinary. What can we in Freemasonry do to find stories in the everyday life and the everyday aspects of what it means to be a Freemason, right? How can we use Masonic data to tell powerful stories, right? How can we take the everyday wonder of Freemasonry with data as it relates to Freemasonry and turn them into stories worth reading? I'm glad you're as happy as you can be, Smokey. I hope you one day this week maybe are even happier than you think you can be. Letters to your 30-year-old self. See, it's interesting. I used to have a initiative in my Masonic Lodge where I would ask every entered apprentice to take a few moments to write a letter to themselves that they would get 25 years in the future. So I think that's going to be really cool. Tech journalism reborn with deep tech writing. Uplifting beautiful Indigenous, Black, and Brown voices. I think that actually might be really applicable to Freemasonry in the sense that we have Prince Hall, you have First Nations Masons, you have Filipino Masons, you have Masons from around the world. Are we making sure that their voices are being uplifted in the same way, UGLE might be uplifted? Then there's a break from 12:30 to 1, which will give me a chance to maybe get something to eat quickly. Hey, I love donuts. Can you save some for me, Smokey? Then there is Medium Day 2025 keynote. Writing is for everyone. That is going to be from 1 to 2. That's my normal schedule. That's when I normally jump onto YouTube to do my live streams. So what's really cool about that is the keynote address happens to coincide with my normal start time. Made to here. So there you go. Again, I don't want to pretend like Freemasonry is some magical organization that is separate or has never had issues with racism. Of course, that's not the case, whether that be racism against Black people or First Nations people or whatever it might be. However, I do believe, to its credit, Freemasonry has absolutely done a lot to also support First Nations and Indigenous and Métis people. And I've written about a lot of those things in the past. The Oklahoma Indian Degree Team, Chief Tecumseh. We had a lot of First Nations engagement and involvement with the events we had in the Windsor Masonic Temple on the January 24th and 25th. January 19th and 20th of last year. So we've done some really incredible things and some things I'm really, really proud of. It's really hard work as well, making sure you are being aware of, different voices and different people within kind of the Masonic Brotherhood, but it's incredibly valuable as well. And something that, to toot my own horn a little bit, I feel like I have done my best to accomplish. Then from 2 to 2:30, everyday prompts for better creative practice. For me, in my written content, I have in the past discussed and talked about prompts that people can use to start their Masonic journals, and I'm very proud of those. But when it comes to prompts for just creative writing as it relates to Freemasonry, it's the same thing. When we think about writing well, we often imagine beautiful prose and extraordinary themes. In this session, the writer will argue that all we need for successful writing practice are ordinary prompts from everyday life. My method relies on actively seeking inspiration instead of waiting to get inspired. I will share the steps I take in my creative process, from finding a scene that can inspire me all the way to building a piece of writing or visual art. I hope that you guys will maybe join me for that one at 2 p.m. Eastern, where again, what I'm going to do is, take these everyday prompts and see if I can modify the prompts so they apply to Freemasonry, and how we can use these prompts to write about Freemasonry in a creative and engaging way. Smokey, I love you, but the phrase "the secret of the holes," that does sound very dirty. Um, I'm not going to lie to you. This whole conversation with my dad asking, "Do you put the holes in?" and your response, "I'll tell you the secret of the holes." It sounds very dirty. I'm worried that YouTube may flag something pretty soon, and it's going to get restricted due to adult content. Harnessing curiosity, creating medium stories for my Google searches. So this is a pretty big deal with this one, right? We as Freemasons need to be thinking about what are some common curiosities people have about Freemasonry. No, it's just a joke, Smokey. You can keep it up. I was just joking. I was just kidding. Yes, you have to keep the secret of the holes. What you need to do is making sure that when we need to know, okay, what type of questions do people have about Freemasonry? What are they asking about Freemasonry on Google? And how can we harness or create content that answers those questions? So, for example, if people are typing into Google, "Is Freemasonry a cult?" we want to have content explaining why Freemasonry is not a cult, answering that question. If people are writing in Freemasonry, people are writing in Google, "Do you need to be a Christian to join Freemasonry?" we want to make sure we're producing content that answers that question. So we figure out the type of Google searches people are engaging in, and then based on that, we want to figure out how can we answer those questions to get our content seen by more people, right? Because the conspiracy theorists online, they are definitely, yes, Dreamseeker points out a very good point. They are definitely, so let's say people keep typing into Google, "Is Freemasonry a secret Jewish organization?" Right? Well, the conspiracy theorists who incorrectly believe that to be the case, they're going to see people asking that question, and they're going to tailor their anti-Masonic content to answer that question in the wrong way. They're going to provide incorrect information, but they're going to write their content or produce content nonetheless based on that question. So if we're just writing about Freemasonry in very generic terms and just giving very generic information, but not answering the specific questions that are being asked, we're leaving ourselves space for the answer to come from the kind of negative anti-Masonic side of it. How do you find your calling? Hint, if not your career. This is a presentation from 2 to 2:30. That is true, Smokey. That is true. So again, with this one, how do you determine your calling? What am I really good at? What do my mentors, family, and friends tell me I'm good at? What am I most passionate about? For how many people could that be Freemasonry? Could that be your calling? And how do you determine if Freemasonry is your calling? Let's write, turn ideas into poetry. Can we turn Freemasonry into poetry? What are some types of Masonic poetry that exist? That is a presentation that's going from 2 p.m. to 2:30 also. Why culture and why now is a presentation that goes from 2 to 2:30. We often think of culture as background noise, something secondary to the real story or a mere feature of it, but culture is the story. It shapes how we define our world and ourselves with it, and when we ignore it, our writing risks oversimplification or bias. In this session, I'll share how I discovered my cultural voice by accident through writing and why that voice matters now more than ever in an age of worldwide polarization and AI-driven homogenization. Drawing from my background in cultural studies and experience growing up across borders, I'll offer a framework for writing that asks us to become aware of our inherent contradictions and lean into the voices that we've built through experience and exposure. Attendees will leave understanding why recognizing their cultural perspective is urgent and how it can transform their writing in a world increasingly stripped of nuance. What is Masonic culture, and how can we write in such a way that Masonic culture is placed at the forefront? This is interesting. Writing for an ADH world. Again, this is about writing for the audience. A quarter of adults worry they have ADHD. Computer technology and other forces push many to feel scattered and disorganized, and to respond reflexively rather than reflectively. Writing about clinical condition that bleeds into everyday experience of many poses challenges, as well as an opportunity to elucidate how our modern lives are disrupting our executive functions. Our abilities to pay attention, think, plan, and remember. As we continue to alter the ways in which we process information, how much longer will writing be a viable medium for conveying facts, nuance, and empathy for humans feeling threatened or crushed by modern society? I don't want to say unfortunately, that's not the right term. For better or worse, there is a certain amount of writing, there is a certain amount of communication within Freemasonry that still needs to be done via written content. Not everything can be communicated through Instagram posts or through videos or whatever it might be. Like, you still need to send out a summons with a message. The Grand Lodge still needs to send out in writing, its announcements and its schedules. It's sending them out, though, to a population of members, a quarter of which may worry they have ADHD, who may feel scattered and disorganized and may not be responding to that writing in a reflective manner. How do we write in such a way that it encourages people to reflect on what's being written, to understand what's being written, to read the whole thing, to not get distracted, and so we make sure the information that we need to send is, getting to whom it needs to get to. There's a presentation from 2:30 to 3 called "Are You Closer to Your Podcasters Than Your Friends?" Another question we could ask is, are you closer to podcasters than your Masonic brethren? This could be a really valuable one, which is also a presentation from 2:30 to 3, defining our comfort zone and finding the courage to change. This is from Elisa Kep. Join published author and facilitator Elisa Kepi for this exciting workshop, which will weave together somatic therapy techniques with writing skills. Using visualization and creativity, we will bring into consciousness parts of ourselves that usually remain hidden. Creative writing can become a tool to bring awareness to your hidden blocks, and also your greatest gifts. Your characters and stories will come to life. Your inner self will speak, and magic will happen. No worries, Smoke. I appreciate you sharing kind of what cults truly are and how you understand, why Freemasonry is not a cult. So for this presentation, right, defining your comfort zone, how many Freemasons do you think are trapped in a comfort zone? And to what extent is Freemasonry itself trapped in a comfort zone? How can we as Freemasons find the courage to challenge maybe some comfortable ideas within Freemasonry? How can we find the courage to challenge being in a comfort zone? Exactly. That's always one of my points, Dream Seeker. And make some changes that maybe are necessary to create and to grow the craft. Then there is just start writing how your passion can gain you an audience on Medium. If you are passionate about Freemasonry, maybe instead of always thinking about starting to write about it, maybe just start writing about it. If you're passionate about Freemasonry, that passion should come through in your written work, and people should recognize and understand why you are passionate about Freemasonry. That's always been kind of my philosophy on it. And I hope if my passion and my enjoyment and my interest within Freemasonry can come through these streams, then maybe it'll encourage other people to take a positive look at Freemasonry. Turn conversations into connections. Grow your readership with interviews. As someone who's done a few written interviews with different individuals who have Masonic knowledge or knowledge of interest to Freemasons, I definitely would like to know how to make my interviews more interesting. So turning conversations into connections might be something worth checking out. Where neuroscience meets storytelling, how curiosity in everyday life shape design. I've always been interested in the connection between well, let's not start talking about that stuff. Between what was the same? I've always been interested in the connections between neuroscience and neuroscience and Freemasonry, and I think the potential. What's the word I'm looking for? The how us learning more about neuroscience, how our brains work, how our brains respond to ritual, how our brains respond to Masonic meetings, how our brains respond to connections and brotherhood could help us better understand how to grow Freemasonry, or at least how to kind of slow the decline within Freemasonry. So this is a presentation from 2:30 to 3 also. It looks very interesting. Right, this is from Janine Rosado. Every month I follow a steady cadence of research and writing that evolves into a finished article on Medium. That rhythm has become a space for my creative expression, a way of transforming curiosity into a perspective that blends intellectually rigorous with narrative. Over time, it helped me think through ideas in behavioral design, uncover what truly motivates people, and refine how I tell stories about experience design. Right? So, how can you use consistent creative practices to generate momentum, unlock opportunities, and strengthen narrative storytelling? Build writing practices that fuels your creativity. Beginning your memoir, that might be an interesting session in terms of beginning, not so much your memoir, but beginning a Masonic memoir. How we can write about our Masonic experiences throughout history, through our personal history, I should say. Traveling, RV living, and writing. This is a presentation that takes place tomorrow from 3 to 3:30. As someone who believes that Freemasons should be traveling as much as possible, I think it's 100% the case that we want to understand how to travel successfully, how to travel safely, how to travel comfortably. That could include potentially traveling in an RV. Well, that's true. A lot of cults, it's free to join at the start, but then they start charging you a lot of money as they go. Because in many cases, the cult, the desire of it is for the leaders to make a lot of money, right? What is the quote from The Office? uh, you have more fun in a cult as a follower, but you make more money as the leader. Here's an interesting expression: writing in versus writing out. Words can build bridges and words can deepen trenches. Can we write about polarizing truths with both urgency and openness? In this interactive session, designers explore the craft of writing in speaking forcefully without closing doors, expanding circles of belonging rather than shrinking them. Through conversation and collaborative exercise, we'll rethink how language can invite rather than alienate, turning the plural first person into a space wide enough to hold difference, dignity, and the shared future we dare to imagine. I think that is one I want to attend for sure, because I often talk about here on YouTube how I hope that my words and my live streams and my videos can build bridges between those who have concerns or negative views of Freemasonry and Freemasonry itself, and perhaps form bonds between them. They can view Freemasonry in a more positive light. I don't want my words and my actions to dig a trench or deepen a trench around Freemasonry and create an exclusionary zone. I want it to be inclusive. So even if people don't like Freemasonry, they feel that they can join my stream and talk about what they're concerned about, and I can try to answer those questions. I want my writing to be the same way. I want my writing on Medium to be something that does not make people feel like they're somehow excluded if they don't like Freemasonry, but that they're open to learn more about it. So this might be a really good session, writing in versus writing out. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Getting to flow, the psychology of writing. That is also from 3:30 to 4. Using presence to allow flow in your writing. Overcome psychological blocks to letting your ideas flow and resonate with your audience. Again, how can we write in such a way that we can better understand the flow of our writing? So if you struggle with writing, in what ways can you understand? If you struggle with writing, is there techniques and practices you can engage in to kind of develop a flow in your writing? So you're able to get done what you need to get done. You're able to write in such a way that it flows creatively, but also naturally. It's not stilted. That seems like a really great session as well. Self-compassion in action, how to treat yourself like someone you care about. Many Masons treat themselves as an afterthought. If you do that, you're not just affecting yourself, but you're affecting those around you. That's a session from 3:30 to 4 as well. From 4 to 4:30, there's a session called Giving 1% Effort. Getting started is hard. In my talk, this is a session from 4 to 4:30. I'll go over why you should aim to put in just 1% effort on the writing project you've had on the back burner. I'll also go how this method helped me get through difficult times in my life and how I use it in my own writing. Can we as Freemasons put in just 1% effort into Freemasonry? If you're currently putting in 0%, can you put in just 1%? And if you put in just 1%, how can that help you and help your craft grow? Will it help kind of break maybe a pattern of laziness, a pattern of procrastination, a pattern of putting Freemasonry off? 1% is better than 0. And hopefully from 1% you can then go to 2%, and then maybe 4%, and then maybe 8%. There's a medium mega mashup in 2025. A free live fiction event where participants will need to write and submit fiction stories while including constraints. That seems interesting. That's from 4 to 5. Maybe I'll see if I can join that for a little bit. One workplace, two experiences. That's from 4 to 4:30. Um, you could probably change that to one Masonic Lodge, two experiences. Everybody experiences Masonic lodges in a different way. Are we are we being aware of those things? Then there's a break number 2 from 4:30 to 5, another chance for me to get some food. I'll try to take the same breaks in my live stream as this session is. When I am taking a break, this little guy will be my co-host. I expect you to be good to him while I'm taking a break, because I'll definitely need a couple breaks. Cosmic Storytelling is a session from 5 to 5:30. Tarot and astrology as creative oracles. Freemasonry actually has some interesting connections to tarot that might be worth exploring. Finding Your Writing Voice, that's from 5 to 5:30 p.m. as well. Your writing voice is an expression of you on the page, but how do you find your voice? Tips, and again, can we as Freemasons do some of these tips and exercises to find our writing voice, so when we are communicating in written content, in written form, we are able to let our voices shine through. I don't want to read a message, and it's a type of message that anybody could write. If the Worshipful Master is writing a message in the summons, I want it to be a message that I understand, coming from him, that I can hear his voice in it. In the same way, I've said in the past that I think we as Freemasons need to have our voice, Worshipful Masters, I think to a certain extent the lodge should reflect their personality a little bit. It should be a reflection of what they want to see from Freemasonry and from their lodge. And I think the way they write should reflect their voice as well. From Shame to Story, there's a session from 5 to 5:30. Writing mental health content that transforms. There are those in Freemasonry who suffer from mental health conditions, or even, maybe suffer is not the right term, experience mental health conditions. Can we make sure that within Freemasonry we are both being aware of those conditions and working with them and giving them the opportunity to kind of manage those conditions or get help for those conditions, and giving them the chance to tell their stories. 5 to 5:30, journal your way back to yourself. That's another session. As someone who's talked a lot about the value of keeping a Masonic journal, why it's so important, why it's so necessary, I probably will try to attend this session. I've given examples of Masonic journal prompts, but if we are not keeping a journal, we are kind of limiting our ability we're not getting as much as we can from our Masonic experience. Right? Journaling is fundamentally a practice of self-friendship. It can be your entryway to greater self-acceptance, self-honesty, self-trust, and living more courageously and authentically. It's not creative writing in the conventional sense, but it is creative writing in a much larger sense, in that it facilitates living more creatively. Spend time to learn more about this life-changing practice and how it can help you build your Just Start Writing muscle. I would say, he says journaling is fundamentally a practice of self-friendship. I would say journaling is fundamentally a practice of self-masonry. It can be your entryway into greater Masonic experiences, greater Masonic understanding, and living a more Masonic life. And so this may be a fun session to attend. I am going to be busy. This starts at 8 a.m., goes to 8 p.m. There's looks like there's over 50 sessions, and you kind of can pick which one you want to attend. It's all virtual. And as I'm attending it, I will be live streaming at the same time. Passion plus intrigue plus revision, a medium success formula. That might be a bit of a formula for Freemasonry as well. We need the passion in Freemasonry, we need a little bit of intrigue, and we need to be willing to revise and change as we go. I would start with Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. That's the best place to go to start. Goodbye, Dad. I will see you tomorrow, maybe at 8 a.m., 7 a.m. your time, or whenever you want to join. It does. AI and privacy. What can we do about it? A lot of Freemasons are worrying right now about AI finding out information about them and kind of affecting their ability to have privacy. So that is something I think is worth exploring a little bit. And we'll try to check it out for sure. The secret behind writing compelling personal stories. How can we make Freemasonry a compelling personal story? Writing my way around the world. How can we as Freemasons write about Freemasonry in different parts of the world where we visit? Radical respect, how to work together better. This is probably a very valuable and very important session. Freemasonry does understand to a certain extent radical respect. Right? Most leaders intend to create respectful working environments. Most worshipful masters intend to create respectful working Masonic lodges. What could get in the way of that? I'll just write it for you. Just because if you look it up online, you'll find it. Oops. Freemasonry for Dummies. Three things, and Kim outlines the big three things that get in the way of respect at work and suggests what we can do to get them back out of the way so we can work together better. I think that will be a really good session, honestly, because again, within Freemasonry, the Worship Master wants to create a respectful lodge. How can he do that? And then the closing ceremony is from 7:30 to 8. Although there's also writing compelling new words. Writing compelling nonfiction by revealing new words and finding hope. That might be worth exploring as well. So those are just some of the sessions that will be tomorrow. Again, I will jump on at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I hope everybody will join. It's going to go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We'll be taking the breaks when they take the breaks. If I ever have any struggles with the technology, with the tech, don't be alarmed. I'll come back on, I promise. Just give me a few minutes, and we'll go from there. Well, there you go. No, Freemasonry for Dummies is a really great book. Chris Hodap wrote it. It's really well written, so he doesn't need any of these sessions. Yes, I'm looking forward to that one as well. Sunday at 2 p.m. It's going to be 24 hours. It's going to be a blast, so I can't wait for it. which will be on the 29th. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to it. We're trying to do it 29th every month. It'll be my personal channel, youtube.com/Cameron Adamson, /@ Cameron Adamson. CameronAdamson. But yeah, obviously it's going to be a really fun day. It's going to be a busy day, but a fun day tomorrow. Again, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Looking forward to meeting a lot of people. Again, it's virtual, but I found during the pandemic that the virtual streams or virtual meetings or virtual events, they could be really, really enjoyable and they could be really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to trying them out again and getting back to some of those. I think there does exist a great deal of value within them that we sometimes overlook. Yeah, and I would agree with that. It's again, and Hodap does a lot of writing stuff as well, so. I will for sure, and maybe I'll even post it on my socials to let other people see it and see what they think. But for now, we're just going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins, and if there's anything anybody else wants to talk about, please let me know. Well, yeah, the first lodge was made in, I mean, June 24th, 1717, at the Goose and Gridiron. There were speculative lodges before that, but that's when the Premier Grand Lodge of England formed. So that's kind of that's kind of the date I use. Anthony Sayer was the first Grand Master, on an interesting side note. So when people ask me who the first Freemason was, I usually say Anthony Sayer, even though he wasn't. He was the first Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Premier Grand Lodge of England. Well, I appreciate you doing the secret research. It's always fun to learn more. So I went through the medium day schedule, all the sessions I'm hoping to attend, what I'm hoping to learn from them, and what I will share. You guys can sign up for Medium Day yourselves. Just type into Google Medium Day 2025. And then, yeah, let me know if there's anything, else that you guys want to chat about. We'll probably end this stream soon, but I do appreciate everybody being here so far. Yes, get out of here, Smokey. Go to work. I'm guessing. Whatever it is you have to do. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. No worries, Dream. I'll probably be ending this stream pretty soon as well. But I will be posting some stuff on social media about tomorrow, so it'll be fun. All right, let's give it another 10 minutes and then we'll go from there. Or 5 minutes. We'll see if anyone else jumps on. Maybe we'll end this stream. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Join me tomorrow. It's going to be a long day, but a very fun day. All right, I think actually we'll end this stream for the time being. I will see everybody. I'll do a brief 1 a.m. stream and then be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. All right, see you guys later.